All right, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another lesson. This is pretty much going to be like a response to El Dinop's video he did yesterday, August 17. Spiritual eyes wide open, scum of scum, lowest sins of Esau. And pretty much, I watched the whole video. The elder was getting down. And he was going into the whole pedophile ring, the pedophiles and that group Nambla and these Catholic priests and these so-called Jew rabbis, and all the shit that they do, circumcise a little boy and then pretty much blow his rod, to so-called suck the blood out of it, giving them herpes, Boy Scouts, guys that are in the Boy Scout that are taking advantage of children, the Catholic priests and their bullshit that they do with little boys and little girls, and then cover it up, and it never gets any attention, and then when it does get attention, it quickly they quickly slide it away, just to make it seem like, look, we're doing something about it, but they ain't doing nothing about it, because this whole society as a whole is run by that pedophile ring, and he mentioned here in this video about Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, and I watched that video that he's speaking about how they took out 24 minutes. I believe it was 24. He said 20 minutes. I believe it was 24 minutes, but nonetheless, it was about 20 minutes that they took out of there. Now he mentioned at the end how the two old men that were at the beginning, they were walking. The little girl was walking with them pretty much. So that was Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's daughter, which they gave over to be used up as a in a pedophile ring, and then somewhere in the middle of the movie or something like that, they had a scene where you had these two Moabites that was freaking off on some young girl, I believe it was, and the father came in there, was mad, started beating them down, but he's the one that sold it to them. But to make a long story short, Esau is a freak, and Esau has these things out there because this is how he gets close to the demons. This is how he gets close to Satan, because he is not a moral man. He is not a spiritual man, as far as a righteous spiritual man. What he is he is the devil that the Bible speaks of, and they have to do things that get them closer to their gods. And that's why they do things to get closer to Satan, to get closer to these demons, because they, just like we want the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakha Kodash to dwell with us and to give us inspiration and to guide our minds, and to guide our minds and to guide our thought patterns, and to constantly protect us and keep us and continually give us ideas and titles for lessons. That's they're doing the same thing. We try to do the best that we can to please Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, so that we can stay in his good graces. Well, this is what they do on the left hand side with Satan and them demons, like Baphomet and all that. And by the way, Elder Yashawamba did a video how they actually had erected a statue of Baphomet. I forgot where it was at. I'm not sure if it was Missouri. It was somewhere. And they're trying to make it so that they can keep it there permanently, and some people are fighting against it, but if the international bankers want it there, guess what? It's going to be there. And as I was watching the video, scripture came into mind, Revelation 17, so I kind of just looked at it real quick, and as soon as I looked at it, and I went to this one particular word, it was like, it just opened up a whole Pandora's box. So I said, let me just commit it to video, and hopefully it would be edifying. So I went here to Revelation 17. I'm gonna start at 1, but the point is in 5. It says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And that great whore is America. And why does this, what is a whore? A whore is a woman that lays down with men for money. And this is what pretty much America is. America is that whore, you know, that all these different nations are pretty much popping. You know, she's spreading her legs, letting them pop her for benefits. And what are the benefits? When they come to this country and they sell their wares, they peddle their wares here to pretty much keep the economy afloat, so to speak, you know, and to constantly do business with America. But it entails a whole lot, because these different nations, they're all involved. The higher ups, the elites of those nations, they're all involved in this pedophile ring thing, you know. So America is a real filthy whore. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, because they're committing spiritual adultery with them, because they're leaving the customs of their nation to follow the customs of America, just to get goodies from America. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. And that's what's happening. All the inhabitants of the earth, except for the elect, are being are made drunk with the wine of a fornication. This is why they're pushing that homosexual agenda, the transgender agenda, you know, like drag queens and lesbians, homosexuals, pedophilia. You know, they're pushing that on a large scale in these different movies. Even in kiddie movies, they show you certain things that are against, you know, a moral society, and that are against the scriptures, you know. And that's what they're pushing, because they have an agenda. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. It says, and this woman is America, and the beast is NATO and the EU. All right, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. So she's like this slut, you know, that has a nice body. She looked good as hell, and she's dressed to a T. You know, it says, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Now I'm going to look up this word abomination, but I'm going to read the next verse, because it's down here also. So she has a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations, and this pedophile ring, you know, and the way they do the pedophile thing with the Pizzagate and all that, and every other thing that they're NAMBLA and all that, this is part of the abominations. That's like the top abomination outside of homosexuality and transgenderism is pedophile, and they're big on that. They're harping big on that, because that's where they get their power from, and they want to keep their power. So in order to keep their power, they have to keep doing these things. And then every once in a while, you'll see a few people, you know, handful of people get caught in a pedophile thing to show the world, see, we're doing something about it. But really, that's just a distraction, you know. And they're moving the attention from the real issue, you know, and in a big wig, so to speak, of this pedophile ring, just to use a couple of patsies, you know, to take the fall for them. So it says, in a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of a fornication, and upon her forehead was a name written, mystery. So this is a mystery, but it's not a mystery anymore, because the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua revealed to us who this is speaking about. This is speaking about America. This filthy whore that is speaking about here is America. And then this woman, this whore, it's a mystery, or was a mystery, of who she was, but it's not a mystery anymore. So now we know that Babylon the Great is America, the mother of harlots. Why? Because you could worship anything here. This is why they say you have the freedom of religion. You know, if you wake up one morning and you decide that you want to pray to a toad god or a frog god, you know, and you come up with a new religion, you know, and you have followers and you have a book, you know, to go with it, guess what? You're allowed to do that here in America, because she is the mother of harlots. It says, and abominations of the earth. So what I wanted to do, and I wanted to look up this word abomination and go into the Greek, because this is one of the filthiest things on the planet, is what they're doing. And that's what the scriptures say, as the ruler of the people is, so are the the followers, or the ones that are in subjection to him. And this is why they're programming people through television and different movies and stuff like that to accept this thing. They're doing it like a little bit at a time, with a term called gradualism, where they introduce something to you a little bit at a time, not all at once, because all at once you get turned away from it. But if they introduce it a little bit at a time, and process of time, they desensitize you, and then it comes to a point where you just accept it because you're so used to it being around you. So when it comes in full blast, you won't have a problem with it. And that's what's happening to the majority of the world. And this is the reason, like this guy, I forget the guy's name, Judah Chronicles. He's got a different agenda, but he did bring out about Martin Lucifer King, and how he was a womanizer, but he was also a homosexual. But if they was to bring that out straight up, like he was saying, Jake would have a issue with that. Jake would be like, oh man, they'll be all up in arms. They'll be upset about that. They'll be angered. There'll probably be riots that break out. But if they continually push to the world that it's okay to be a homosexual, and then they bring it out, it wouldn't be a big deal. So this is part of their gradualism, part of their abominations. So let's look this word up, abominations. It's G946, which the G stands for Greek. It says bedulugma. I forgot how he said it.
Strong's G946. Bedelugma.
Bedelugma. Okay. And it says a foul thing. See? Because to be a pedophile, that's a foul thing. The word pedophile means child lover. A foul thing, a detestable thing, of idols and things pertaining to idolatry. So there's things pertaining to these different idols that are an abomination, but there's also other things that this devil's doing that is foul and detestable, such as homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, drag queens and all of that, pedophilia, and those are some of the top ones, outside of other, child sacrifice and all different types, of madness. And it gets worse and worse. And Lord's will, the Spirit allows, if it's possible, on my next live lesson, Lord's will, I may go into the chronicles of Amalek, and go into that. I got a couple of quotes from the Talmud, which is the book of the so-called Jews, the Amalekites, the Edomites, and the book that rings true to them and is close to their soul and close to them and best describes them is not the Torah, it's the Talmud. And the Talmud is a book of perversity, a book of abominations. And Lord's will, I would like to go into that. Apostle Elder Gabar did it years ago. I would like to kind of go into some of that, and some other stuff. I had something written down. I got to find out. I got to go look and see exactly what it is so I can go into it. But it's a foul thing, a detestable thing. All right. Let's go down here. Show all. A biblical and ecclesiastical word, mostly for a foul thing, loathsome, on account of its stench. And it's not stench as far as something that's really stinking, but if you're in your right mind and you find out that these men are having sex with little boys or 18 months old or whatever, that's gonna be like if you smelled a big hot pile of funky ass shit or a rotten corpse. It's gonna make you, it's gonna boil your blood and get you mad, and your face is gonna turn. Like, you ever seen the people that are so disgusted it looks like they smell something bad, or they was chewing on a piece of shit? Well, that's how it's supposed to be. This is the reason why the Lord said this. Let me get this real quick. There was another precept that came into mind. Okay. Let me just get this one, and then let me get this one. because that wasn't actually the one that came to mind. But since, you know what? Now let me just go straight to the one. Ezekiel 9:4. And the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, said unto him, go to the angel, go to the midst of the city, to the midst of Jerusalem. Jerusalem represents the people of the nation of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And then you go the word abomination again. Let's see what this says here. You know, so this is, so if you don't have that attribute of getting angry or disgusted by things that these devils are doing, then chances are you might not be a part of the elect, because the Lord said that his men will be sighing and crying for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So the word for abomination is thawa'ibah, a disgusting thing, abomination, abominable, in ritual sense of unclean food, idols, mixed marriages, in ethical sense of wickedness, etc. So it's an abomination, a disgusting thing. And that is a disgusting thing for a man to want to have sex with another man, or for a woman to want to have sex with another woman, or for a man to want to have sex with a baby, 18 months old, 10 years old, 3, you know, whatever. That's disgusting, you know. And it shows you where these devils get their power from. So it says the detestable thing, abomination, and when you brothers get a chance, you could read through the rest of this. I just kind of browsed through some of it. And now another word for abomination, or another scripture that has the word abomination, is Matthew 24:14. I'm sorry, not 14, verse 15. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So who is the abomination of desolation? Who is the abomination that maketh desolate? The so-called white man. Back then, it was referring to the this particular scripture here was referring to the Roman Empire and the thing that they did. You know, because when they took over, they were this abomination, and this is the reason why. And then America today is the reincarnation or the revival of the ancient Roman Empire, along with its allies, you know, such as NATO, the EU, and all them so-called European countries. So they're the abomination that maketh desolate. And this is why in Revelation 17 it spoke about, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So all of these pertain to America, because America is Babylon the Great. You know, the mystery is no longer a mystery, because the Lord reveals his mysteries to his servants, the prophets. And we know that America is Babylon the Great. And one of the greatest things that they are is the abominations of the earth. And the Roman Empire back then, they're the ones that were the abomination of desolation. You know, and when they came in the picture, beginning with the Greeks, the Romans, and the rest of these Edomites, people were afraid. You know, people were oppressed. You know, Esau is a great oppressor, you know, that creates all type of abominations. Why? Because it's in the power of his hands to do so. Proverbs 28:12, when righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. And that's what happens. So the wicked, it rises. And who is the man that's hidden? The man of wisdom. Because the man of wisdom is going to be despised in the midst of all this wickedness. And there's a saying, in the time of universal deceit, it's considered, the truth is considered to be revolutionary, you know. And that's what it is. You know, if you are about righteousness and about setting up something that's righteous, guess what? These devils are going to hate you, and they're going to look for ways to get rid of you. You know, and this is why they see that their tactics of lying and deceit are not working anymore. So eventually they're going to get physical. So this is Proverbs 28:28. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves. But when they perish, the righteous increase. So when the wicked rise, the men hide themselves. You know why? Because of the abominations and the things that are happening. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And who are the wicked? When you read the book of Malachi, Esau is the wicked. And when did the wicked really start ruling the earth? Going back to the time of the Greeks. And this is why the scriptures say that, the saying goes, history started with the Greeks, or civilization started with the Greeks. Because they're trying to say that they're the civilized people that civilized the world. But that's not so, because you had many empires, great empires, that were much more. They did a lot of foul shit. But but as a whole, they weren't the wicked, and they didn't do the abominations that these devils are doing today. And that started with the Greeks. It's the book of 1 Maccabee, chapter 1 and verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. This is Alexander the Creep. And his servants bare rule every one in his place, which are his generals. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, because they were ruling. So did their sons after them many years. And evils multiplied in the earth. Why? Because they are the wicked. Proverbs 29:16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. So when the so-called white men, the Edomites, when they started multiplying, they started ruling, that's when transgressions increased. That's when these abominations increased. And we know that through the Greeks, which was the first Edomite empire, they got into power, evils were multiplied in the earth. And part of these evils are what? These abominations, such as, this pedophile ring and homosexuality and all of that, all those other agendas that go contrary to the Bible. They go contrary to what the scriptures are saying. And who is the ones that's in charge of this? These international bankers. They're the ones, the rich men. That's why the Lord said, James 5:1, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Why? Because they're going to have to pay for all of this. They're going to have to pay for the slave trade. They're going to have to pay for putting our people in slavery, destroying us as a people, destroying the planet, destroying the minds of the people with these abominable acts, these abominable things, just to push their agenda on people. When allegedly America is supposed to be a place of freedom, which that's a joke. But it's supposed to be a place where you can choose. It's not. But now it's like they're making it mandatory, and then when you speak against pedophilia or homosexuality or transgenderism or whatever the case is, people are looking at you strange. So this place has to go on all levels. It says your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. And part of them keeping their riches and their status is by continually doing these things. And this is the reason why when you go into the entertainment industry, if you are an entertainer and you're always in the top, you have to keep doing things to keep that status. And Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, after a while they grow a conscience, and they want out. And guess what happens when they want out? They make them look like madmen, or eventually they kill them, because this whole society is run by the wicked. The international bankers, the Edomites, the so-called white man. All right, beginning with the international bankers. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have reaped treasures together for the last days. Why? Because their dreams are going to go up in smoke. They're going to be safe in their little bunkers, but their dreams are going to go up in smoke. And then from that point on, when Yahushua comes back with the angels and the chariots, and the missiles are shot on this place, and the lasers from the chariots, then the new world that's coming is going to be run by Yahushua and by the elect of Israel, and eventually the rest of Israel coming back through their loins. So that's what we're waiting for the righteous earth that the Most High promised. It says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. All right, you have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. Now the word wanton is undisciplined, because here it is. You got the book, you have the book to guide, so you don't have an excuse. The guidebook is there, the instruction book is there, but guess what? They don't like the instructions. The instructions go contrary to their spirit. So what do? They prop the Bible up, act like as if they're Christians or the people of the Lord. But then when it comes down to bringing out legislation, they cast the Bible to the side and they bring in their own penal codes and their own laws, which go contrary to what the scriptures say. So this is from the Greek word G4684, spatalao, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, to live luxuriously, lead a voluptuous life, give oneself to pleasure. And also wanton means undisciplined, you know, and through these riches that they have, they've become corrupt and they become wanton. Because let's see if we can look this up real quick. Wanton, of cruel or violent action, deliberate and unprovoked, especially of a woman sexually immodest or promiscuous. See, pretty much undisciplined. Let's see if they have it here. Immoral, promiscuous, immodest, indecent, shameless, unchaste, fast, loose, impure, abandoned, lustful, lecherous, lascivious, libidinous, licentious, dissolute, debauched, degenerate, corrupt, whorish, disreputable, which is what? Undisciplined. Behave sexually immodest or promiscuous way, play, frolic. You know, so pretty much a woman that's promiscuous is a woman that has no discipline. You know, she'll lay down with anything and anybody because she's insatiable. She can't get enough sex, you know. So she has to go and bounce on as many dicks as she can, you know. So that's what America is. America is like that insatiable woman that has all these goodies and she's undisciplined with her goodies. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. Why? Because we can't fight against him. We don't have the power to fight against him. That's why the Apostle Paul said, you know, not to resist the powers that be. In other words, we can't take up arms against this government because the Most High set them up, and the Most High is going to be the one to bring them down. You know? So, like I said, that was my take on the elders' video, Spiritual Eyes Wide Open, SCUM, lowest sins of Esau. And you know, with that, you know, I hope you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.